Scientists have finally cracked the mystery of the death of polar bear.
Arctic polar bears are facing near extinction by the end of the century if the sea ice they depend on continues to disappear. That's the stark warning from a new study looking at the long-term future of the bears.
For years, scientists believed that the warming climate was polar bears' only true enemy. But when researchers investigating strange seal deaths landed in Svalbard, everything changed. Because what they found there didn't make sense at all, and it forced them to rethink everything they thought they knew about the Arctic.
Maybe a varied diet is the key. The sharks have been found with the remains of polar bears, reindeer, even a moose in their stomachs.
The investigation that was never supposed to change anything. The horror began the instant a small research team stepped onto the frozen ground of the Svalbard archipelago in 2008. They had come to study the sudden and mysterious deaths of dozens of common seals. The researchers expected the usual routine of cold hands, long hours, and slow results. Instead, they found bodies torn in ways that did not match any normal pattern of Arctic predators. The scene felt wrong in a threatening way, and it pushed an uneasy pressure into their chests because they could not understand what they were looking at. These scientists had worked in the Arctic many times before. They knew the endless repetition of field tasks, and they understood the slow pace of gathering data. They believed they already had a simple explanation for the dead seals.
And that's important because it will help us better understand ocean life and the vital role it plays in storing carbon.
Their main suspicion focused on the Greenland shark. This shark lived in the deep cold, and many experts described it as slow and almost blind. It was believed to move with limited speed. People said it could sometimes eat a wounded seal or a dead seal that drifted down into its path. The team believed the shark might be involved in these deaths, and they wanted to confirm it through careful study. Their plan was simple. They would capture a Greenland shark. They would examine it and open the stomach. They expected to find remains of seals or scraps of fish. They felt sure it would be nothing more than that. Everyone believed the work would be predictable and dull. They thought they knew what the results would show. None of them sensed that something far more disturbing waited for them inside that shark. The scientists opened up the shark, reached inside, and found a small bone fragment that measured about 4 inches. At first, it looked ordinary. Then someone examined it more closely and identified it as a jawbone from a young polar bear. The entire room went completely silent. Several team members laughed in disbelief because the idea felt impossible. They thought there had been a major mistake. The idea that a Greenland shark had eaten a polar bear felt completely wrong and almost unreal. The team examined the fragment again, and the truth struck them with overwhelming force. The bone truly belonged to a young polar bear. This single discovery crushed everything they believed about predator behavior in the Arctic. The Greenland shark was believed to be far too slow to catch strong prey. Many people claimed it could not chase or attack anything healthy at all. Polar bears were believed to be powerful rulers of the Arctic with almost no natural enemies. They were thought to face danger only from hunger or an occasional killer whale. But this bone showed that something in the Arctic was not behaving the way experts had always described it. A new fear settled over the team. The death of the seals now carried a much darker meaning. If one Greenland shark had eaten a polar bear, then other unexplained events could exist beneath the ice. The team realized the problem was much larger than the seal carcasses that first brought them here. They had uncovered a mystery that challenged basic ideas about Arctic predators. They knew they needed answers fast because this discovery had the power to change the way the world understood these animals. But as the team tried to make sense of the evidence, they quickly realized that they knew too little about the Greenland shark. This meant they had to go deeper into the life and behavior of this mysterious creature of the Arctic, and the next steps would be harder and more frightening than anything they had planned.
That trajectory to just lose polar bears.
The trajectory that we're on now is not a good one.
The predator. No one sees coming. For decades, the Greenland shark has been treated like a ghost of the Arctic depths. Few people ever see it near the surface, and most of its life is spent drifting silently through water so cold it could kill nearly any other animal. It moves with heavy, slow motions, rarely going faster than 1.8 miles per hour. Its eyes are often clouded by a strange parasite that attaches itself directly to the eyeball. Leaving the shark with almost no clear vision. People call it the sleepy shark, imagining a slow, weak creature that can only scavenge dead fish and has no real power to hunt anything alive. The nickname makes it sound harmless, even pathetic, but the truth is far darker than anyone imagines. This shark is no accident of nature. It is a predator built for survival in a way the world does not yet understand. Every part of its body works together to make it efficient, silent, and deadly. It can move almost without making a sound, drifting through the icy depths without alerting anything nearby. It conserves energy in the freezing waters in ways that give it incredible endurance, allowing it to hunt for long periods without tiring. Its sense of smell is extraordinary, able to detect the faintest hints of blood or scent in the water. Even with blurry vision, the shark can track prey with terrifying precision. Its skin is covered in rough structures called dermal denticles, which reduce water resistance and let it glide with stealth almost impossible to detect. Unlike many other sharks, it does not need to constantly swim to breathe. Its gills extract enough oxygen from the water even when it floats motionless. Every feature, every adaptation, makes it a quiet and relentless hunter. The shark's diet revealed even more horrifying truths. Scientists who have examined the stomachs of these creatures found fragments that no one expects. Pieces of caribou appeared alongside entire limbs of drowned horses. There were also remains of seals, fish, dogs, and even other sharks. Some of the meals were clearly scavenged from already dead animals, but many were fresh. The tissue of some seals showed no signs of decay or marks from scavengers that normally feed on dead bodies. This meant the shark had killed them while they were alive. Researchers speculate that the shark waits for the seals to sleep in the water, then approaches silently and strikes before the animals even have a chance to react. This forced the scientists to rethink everything they thought they knew about the Greenland shark. If it can sneak up on a seal, a creature fast, strong, and aware, then it could possibly attack something even bigger under the right conditions. The idea of a Greenland shark eating a polar bear no longer seemed completely impossible. Yet a massive question remained. Did the shark actually kill the polar bear, or had it simply scavenged one that was already dead? To find out, the scientists needed to understand exactly how a polar bear might be vulnerable in the frozen Arctic. They had to study the bear's condition at the moment it might encounter a predator that has been designed to exploit any weakness. And as they examined the polar bears more closely, a chilling truth began to emerge.
Remains, so I have to push him away and not to let him get used for staying with us.
Polar bears are powerful, but they're not untouchable. People often imagine polar bears as unstoppable hunters. Many see them as the strongest animals on the ice. This reputation comes from extraordinary traits they truly possess. Adult males can weigh up to 1,500 pounds, while adult females can weigh around 700 pounds. Their bodies are packed with thick layers of fat and dense muscle, insulating them from the freezing cold and protecting them during long periods without food. A fully grown bear can stand more than 10 feet tall on its hind legs. Polar bears are exceptional swimmers and highly adapted to their environment. They can maintain a steady stroke for days, sometimes covering hundreds of miles of open, freezing water. Their broad, slightly webbed paws act like paddles, propelling them silently and efficiently through the Arctic seas. Their limbs are strong enough to break through ice or drag heavy carcasses across snow. Their heads are low and streamlined. Their long necks and powerful shoulders are built for stealth and sudden bursts of speed. Polar bears have extraordinary senses. Their eyesight allows them to detect movement from hundreds of meters away, and their sense of smell can pinpoint a seal's breathing hole in the ice from more than a kilometer away. Their hunting strategies are equally remarkable. Polar bears often wait motionless for hours near a seal's breathing hole, barely making a sound. When a seal surfaces, the bear strikes with sudden, brutal speed, using its enormous strength to drag the animal from the water. On land, they stalk quietly across snow and ice, blending perfectly with their surroundings, sometimes covering miles before their prey even senses their presence. Their jaws are capable of crushing bones, tearing flesh with terrifying force, ensuring that no part of a kill goes to waste. Even their survival instincts are finely tuned. They can endure long periods without food, slow their metabolism when necessary, and preserve energy for moments when action is required. But despite these formidable abilities, polar bears are not invincible. Strength and size alone cannot protect them from every danger. The Arctic is changing at a frightening pace. Ice that once formed thick and reliable now melts earlier in the year and forms later. forcing bears to travel longer distances across open water. Many bears must swim between small broken ice floes or hunt in waters that offer no shelter from wind, waves, or sudden storms. These long journeys drain enormous amounts of energy. When a bear becomes exhausted, it weakens and becomes vulnerable. Their enormous size no longer guarantees safety. Scientists have recorded countless dangers that threaten these weakened bears. Powerful Arctic storms can strike suddenly, creating waves too strong for even the largest swimmers. Cubs tire far faster than adults and can be easily separated from their mothers. Ice sheets can crack or collapse unexpectedly, causing bears to fall into water currents or become trapped on floating ice pieces. Harsh seasons leave many bears starving, losing critical fat and muscle that sustain them. Others become so drained that they can barely lift themselves onto ice floes. At this point, the bear is no longer a predator. It becomes exposed to threats that would normally be irrelevant. Even rare interactions with other predators illustrate their vulnerability. Wolves are known to have attacked cubs. Adult bears have been seriously injured by walruses defending their young. These incidents are uncommon, but they reveal an essential truth. Even the most powerful hunter in the Arctic can be placed in mortal danger when the situation turns against it. This context became important when scientists closely examined the remains found inside the Greenland shark. The bones and tissue did not belong to fully grown adults at peak condition. They came from cubs, young bears, and weakened individuals. These are the animals most likely to struggle during long swims, failed hunts, or extreme environmental conditions. The evidence does not prove that Greenland sharks actively hunt healthy adults. Instead, it reveals a more chilling reality. Exhaustion, accidents, storms, and hunger create deadly openings in the water. A patient predator lying in the deep can exploit these openings with terrifying efficiency. But the 2008 discovery was only the beginning. Scientists were about to uncover findings even more astonishing than anyone had imagined. The mystery of the bear continues. In 2014, researchers examined another Greenland shark. Inside its stomach, they found muscle tissue and pieces of skin. Tests showed the tissue belonged to a polar bear.
Maybe a varied diet is the key. The sharks have been found with the remains of polar bears, reindeer, even a moose in their stomachs.
This discovery proved that the earlier finding was not a strange accident. It was real evidence that something was happening beneath the surface of the Arctic. At the same time, it raised a difficult question for the scientific community.
Scientists recently discovered Greenland sharks. They may actually be living for centuries, perhaps as long as 400 years.
No one knew whether these bear remains came from bears killed by sharks or from bears that had drowned and drifted downward where the sharks could reach them. Many experts first believed the sharks were simply scavenging. Greenland sharks are known for feeding on dead animals. They often eat whale carcasses that sink to the ocean floor. Their slow metabolism lets them survive on very little food. A fresh polar bear body drifting underwater would be an incredible meal. From this point of view, it made sense to believe that the shark would not risk a dangerous fight. It would simply wait for a body that Mother Nature had carefully prepared for it. However, this explanation did not fit every detail. Some of the tissue found inside the sharks looked too fresh to be typical scavenged remains. Some pieces showed no marks from small sea creatures that usually appear quickly on dead bodies. These small creatures include amphipods and brittle stars. They normally feed on carcasses almost immediately. Their absence suggested that the bear tissue reached the shark's stomach before enough time had passed for these tiny organisms to attach themselves to the body. This meant the bear had not been dead for very long. This did not prove that the shark attacked the bear while it was alive. Yet it made the simple scavenging explanation less certain. It forced scientists to look more closely at the places where Greenland sharks were feeding. New studies revealed that these sharks did not always stay in deep water. They often moved into shallow areas. These were the same areas where seals traveled or rested. These were also places where polar bears sometimes moved across the water or climbed onto ice. When seals fell asleep in the water, the shark could take them without a chase. This raised a disturbing question. If a shark could quietly approach a sleeping seal, could it do something similar to a tired or weakened bear? The debate grew more intense as more data appeared. Some scientists insisted the shark's slow speed made it impossible to attack a healthy adult polar bear. Other scientists argued that a weakened bear behaved very differently from a strong one. Exhausted bears moved slowly. Injured bears struggled to climb onto broken or slippery ice. Bears facing unstable ice were forced into dangerous positions more often. These situations created moments where a bear could not escape even from a slow predator. There was no final answer. No one could agree on a single explanation. Yet one thing became clearer the more researchers studied the evidence. The Greenland shark was not just an invisible scavenger in the Arctic environment. It was a real force that shaped the fates of other animals. It took advantage when a polar bear made one mistake or faced one moment of weakness. But to understand the full picture, scientists had to look at one of the shark's strangest strengths, which is its highly toxic flesh.
Of the bear's frozen hunting grounds. Our science correspondent Victoria Gill has the story.
The shark that no one wants to eat. If a polar bear ever thought about attacking a Greenland shark for food, the bear would discover very quickly that it made a terrible mistake. The flesh of the Greenland shark is filled with harmful chemicals that make it extremely toxic to mammals. Most animals release waste through their bodies in a normal process. Greenland sharks do not do this. They keep a waste compound known as urea inside their tissues. Their bodies also contain a chemical called trimethylamine oxide. These chemicals work together to protect the shark in freezing water. They act like a natural antifreeze that keeps the shark alive in temperatures that would kill most other creatures. For anything that tries to eat the meat, the result is dangerous. Animals can become violently ill. They can vomit uncontrollably. They can suffer seizures and collapse. There are real examples of this effect.
So I'm definitely feeling a tug.
So an actual like shark tug?
Yeah.
Sled dogs that ate raw Greenland shark meat became unable to stand or move. Some collapsed and had to be dragged away from the area. Several birds have died after eating it. Humans cannot eat the meat safely unless it has been fermented for months. Without this long process, the flesh remains poisonous. This level of toxicity keeps polar bears away from the shark entirely. Even starving bears do not want to risk eating the meat because the consequences can be deadly. This creates an unusual imbalance in the Arctic. The shark can eat a bear, but the bear will not willingly eat the shark. The shark's chemical defenses remove it as a food option for the bear. The Greenland shark is not harmless. It carries weapons that many people do not know about. The shark can injure large marine mammals during encounters. Its lower teeth curve like small blades. They slice through flesh in a grinding circle when the shark bites. Scientists have seen scars on sperm whales that suggest these whales have fought Greenland sharks. In one case, a shark appears to have bitten a whale many times. The repeated bites wore down the whale's teeth.
Hold you.
You ready, Aldo?
Yeah, coming in.
Even with these abilities, the shark rarely takes big risks. A Greenland shark has a very slow metabolism. Wasting energy on a dangerous attack could threaten its survival. The shark depends on patience. It depends on silent movement. It waits for moments when prey cannot fight back. This means it feeds when the opportunity is safe and easy. It includes moments when polar bears fall into the water while weakened and unable to defend themselves. This unusual mix of danger, patience, and chemical protection leads to a powerful idea. The Greenland shark may not always kill polar bears directly. However, it plays a role in the chain of events that leads to polar bear deaths. And to truly grasp the shark's role in the Arctic, scientists had to explore another astonishing trait, which is the Greenland shark's ability to live for centuries. The centuries-old predator that's watching the Arctic change. Greenland sharks are the oldest known vertebrates on the planet. Some individuals are believed to be more than 400 years old. One shark that scientists tested was estimated to be around 392 years old. And some estimates suggest that these sharks might even reach 500 years or more. They grow at an extremely slow pace. They do not reach maturity until they are close to 100 years old. Their metabolism moves so slowly that researchers have compared it to the stillness of a tree stump. Their heart beats only 8 to 10 times each minute. They need only a few ounces of food each day to survive. This incredible lifespan gives the Greenland shark a strange and powerful place in Arctic history. A single shark swimming today may have lived during the Little Ice Age. It may have existed long before modern nations formed. It may have watched countless generations of polar bears rise and fall.
Most of the time, the bears live directly on sea ice that can be found between land masses.
It may have endured harsh environmental cycles that most species never lived long enough to witness. It has seen the Arctic during quiet, stable times. It now sees the Arctic in a state of sudden and dangerous change. When scientists studied the shark's genetics, they found unusual versions of genes that help with repairing DNA, managing cell health, and slowing the damage that builds up during aging. These adaptations protect the shark in freezing water and help it avoid many of the weaknesses that affect other aging animals. Humans cannot copy these traits, but learning about them helps scientists understand aging itself. It also helps them see how different creatures survive in extreme environments. The shark's long life creates another effect. It gives the shark centuries to take advantage of every shift in the Arctic ecosystem. As sea ice disappears and more polar bears are forced into long, risky swims, the shark benefits without changing anything about its behavior. It does not need speed. It does not need new hunting strategies. It moves slowly and waits. In a rapidly warming Arctic, the number of chances it gets is rising. This creates a strange situation. The Greenland shark is not attacking polar bears on purpose. It is not the cause of melting ice or violent storms, yet it gains from the chaos that these changes produce. Its growing role in scientific research has forced experts to confront difficult questions about what the future holds for polar bears as the environment becomes more unstable. This leads to one last question. If scientists can understand what is killing polar bears, they must ask whether anything can be done to stop these deaths or whether the Arctic has already changed beyond repair.